And they issued 2 apologies. The last one saying there is hashtag only one China. Okay. What is the what?
Because the huge economic
yes, that's
footprint
exactly what it is.
of China.
Okay,
Yes.
so the Gap did it, Marriott, Delta, Christian Dior,
Apple,
Versace,
everybody.
Givenchy, the whole 9. Okay.
Microsoft.
That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Number 3, let's get on to something else.
Okay, good.
No, this is just silly. A French scientist has apologized after tweeting a photo of a slice of sausage, claiming it was an image of a distant star taken by the James Webb telescope.
People liked it. The sausage and the stars.
They like the sausage.
Yeah.
Etienne Klein, a celebrated physicist at France's Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission, shared the image of the chorizo on Twitter last week, praising the level of detail it provided. It was retweeted more than, he has 91,000 followers. It was retweeted and commented upon by thousands, but of course it was sausage.
Yes.
It wasn't actually a picture from the James Webb. He admitted later that he was trying to make a joke. He said, let's learn to be wary of the arguments from positions of authority as much as the spontaneous eloquence of certain images. Now, what does that mean? So, we have to wait. Once we see an image, we have to wait to make sure it's not sausage.
Well, yeah. Next to the Capicola universe.
That's according to CNN. And number 4, I've got a weird animal story for you.
Ooh, it's Monday.
Oh, I'm happy
Starting
about
off
it.
big time here.
Woolly mammoths, which were as big as the African elephant but closer genetically to the Asian elephant, lived across Asia, Europe, and right here in North America until about 10,000 years ago. They might be back.
Yeah, this is not good.
They might be back.
So you're going to produce motherless zombie baby woolly mammoths.
That's your top 4 at 4.
Come on. Seriously?
Woolly mammoths were the first species that we realized as humans went extinct.
Yep.
That was the first discovery we made. Never able to determine why. And of course, instantly people were like, well, that's because humans hunted them. But it most likely was climate change because the ice age was ending. And so it wasn't an appropriate environment for them to live anymore. Anyway, John, you are right. They're talking about basically reinvigorating the species based on the fossils that they have.
But there's also sort of weird leaps forward or shortcuts in the technology.
Right. So they have to reconstruct the DNA using CRISPR, which is a program I don't exactly understand. They're going to combine it, though, with the DNA of an endangered Asian elephant, make an embryo, implant it in an Asian elephant, or maybe they'll do an artificial embryo, artificial womb, they're still not sure, and they plan to de-extinct the species.
Right. This is how Jurassic Park got started.
You know what? When Michael Crichton wrote Jurassic Park, he wrote about things just like that.
Exactly.
I mean, it wasn't supposed to be a dinosaur thriller.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a cautionary tale.
Of technology run amok.
As
and
was
this
The
is
Lost World.
What it is.
I don't think these guys read that book.
Woolly mammoths without mom and dad. All right. We'll
Would
take
you like
a quick
to raise
break.
one?
No, I would not.
Okay.
Imagine all the anxiety taking that to the vet. We're going to the White House next.
101.5 WORD.
Plan now to join Word FM Tuesday, August 16th aboard the Gateway Clippers Empress for another fabulous dinner cruise. From 6:30 to 9, relax in the company of fellow believers as you enjoy a fantastic dinner buffet, music, and stunning views of the city skyline. The Ride Home's John and Kathy will be your cruise directors for this amazing night, sponsored by Trinity Jewelers. Don't miss the boat. Last year's event completely sold out. Reserve now at wordfm.com/dinnercruise.
Hi, I'm Jackie Dorman. Have you ever caught yourself believing you'll never find a loving, deeply fulfilling relationship with a marriage-minded Christian man? Well, you're not alone. And I can relate. For years, I struggled with false beliefs that I would never experience the joy of finding the love of my life. If you're feeling trapped in negativity and wondering if and when you will find love, or you think, maybe I'm not meant to be married after all, I want to invite you to join me in my free Married in 12 Months challenge. Look, there's something you can do today to move beyond those negative thoughts, and I'll teach you how. I'm going to teach you why now's the time to find love, the lies that are holding you back, why God wants you to be married, the biblical law of attraction, and the tools to become a bride. Don't wait any longer. Just sign up for my free Married in 12 Months challenge at lovestories.com, and you can start your journey to finding that lasting, loving relationship. Join me at lovestories.com.
When you're in college, sleep is important, but thanks to your studies and busy schedule, you might not be getting as much rest as you need. That old mattress you've had since you were a kid, though, it's just not cutting it. Upgrade your sleep experience with a locally made, hand-built mattress from the Original Mattress Factory. We offer a variety of mattresses, including twin extra long, to suit every comfort preference and to fit every budget. And we deliver right to you. Visit an OMF store near you or go to originalmattress.com to learn more.
Is your school a true partner in your child's education? They should be. Pittsburgh's Christian schools agree. If you're looking for a safe environment where kids can learn, challenge, and grow with highly qualified teachers who are not only caring but accessible, where academic excellence goes hand in hand with character development, consider Christian education. Right now, local Christian schools are offering half-price tuitions for first-time enrollees, like Walnut Grove Christian School in West Mifflin. Visit wordfm.com/tuitions.
There's nothing like hearing the songs you love on local radio with no subscriptions and no monthly fees. But there's a new bill in Congress that could stop the music. If passed, this bill would tax your local radio station simply to play the music you love. Text LOCAL to 52886 and ask Congress to support local radio stations. Help us keep you connected to the music, local news, weather, and traffic that you need each day. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
We go to the White House where Greg Clarkson joins us. Greg Clarkson is the SRN News White House correspondent. Salem Radio Network is our parent company. Greg, happy Monday to you. How are things?
Hello there, John, Kathy. Hey, it's off to a good start this week.
Very
Thanks.
good. Greetings.
Terrific. So let's start with the president. Things are looking up in his world. I mean, it was only a couple weeks ago that people were talking about the fact that he couldn't get a thing passed, that there was nothing good happening in his administration.
Or he couldn't get out of the White House.
Right, exactly. He had COVID twice, for crying out loud. Now it looks like he has some legislative victories and people saying, look how much he gets done.
Did we lose him? We lost Greg.
No, look, he's frozen there.
Oh, he's frozen. And it's not like
I like him better when he's unfrozen.
It's not like a Milky Way or something like that, you know.
It is. Or did you try?
Did I try
the Mallow cup in the freezer?
No, I did not.
Oh, I thought you would.
Hold on. We're efforting there. Something happened there. All right.
We'll get him back.
There's us. Okay.
Yeah, now we can see ourselves. Okay, so you didn't try the
no, I didn't.
Mallow cup in the freezer.
No.
I thought maybe how I talked about it on Friday was going to make it seem like that was the thing you wanted to do right away.
No, I did not. No, sorry.
Oh.
I didn't do anything.
It's all right. How are you done? How are you doing with your peach truck box?
We're through our second apple pie, our second peach pie, and it's a lot, isn't it? It's a commitment.
You feel like it's too many?
Oh, there's Greg.
Oh, is he back?
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Good. I was just saying the week was off to a good start, and then the Zoom feed froze.
And then it wasn't. Right. Did you hear my question, Greg?
I did not. No.
Okay, well,
how's your Monday?
I'm eager to share it with you again. I said it was just a couple weeks ago that everybody was saying that the Biden administration legislatively was just a complete disaster. He couldn't get anything passed. There wasn't anything good to really be talking about. And now all of a sudden, fast forward to this weekend, and now everybody's saying, look how much he gets done.
I know. You go back those couple 3 weeks, and people were talking about the fist bump with the Saudi leader and his poll numbers mired in the 30s, which they still are, by the way.
Yep.
But yeah, when you added everything together, plus the stalled legislation on Capitol Hill, it was a very dim picture for the White House as Democrats were looking ahead to the midterm elections. Now, it doesn't mean everything is fixed, and it doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a turnaround in what have been projected Republican gains in Congress this November. But a few days have made a difference here in terms of what the president and what Democrats can claim as legislative accomplishments. And this vote over the weekend by the Senate, which sends it over to the House. The House lawmakers come back on, I think, Friday to vote on this big package. It's $750 billion. So it's not a small package, but think back to the original Build Back Better plan the president wanted. It was $3.5 trillion.
Wow.
So even though this is a big expenditure dealing with climate, dealing with taxing big corporations, and dealing with prescription drug prices, it is a much scaled down version of what the White House and the president wanted in the first place.
Yeah. So in the mix of all this, Greg, there's a lot of talk about electric vehicles, right? I mean, we're going to go green here all of a sudden, but the fact of the matter is that most people can't afford a Tesla or anything close to coming electric. So this $750 billion, I mean, that's spread out of a lot of different programs. The chances that it might pass, I mean, it would just pass 51-50 with a tiebreaker. What do you gauge the success?
Yeah, it looks as if unless there is some unexpected, defectors in the Democratic Party in the House, it should pass, but it's essentially passing along party lines here, like so much of the legislative bills that we've seen, in the last number of years, really, over the last couple of presidents. Yep. So that's probably not going to be a surprise. What's interesting too is the name of this act. It's political terminology. We have to understand that, and both parties do it when they're in power. But it's the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, the jury is still out as to whether this bill, when passed, if passed, signed into law by the president, will actually help reduce inflation. The president himself and others in the White House admit that a lot of the measures, a lot of the spending, a lot of the packages, whether it's EV, that kind of thing, John, it's going to take time to see some improvements, some progress, and that kind of thing. So whether or not it's actually going to help with inflation immediately remains to be seen.
Right.
Republicans essentially say no.
Right. First thing we'll do is work on the Zoom infrastructure.
Yeah, that's right. We have to stay on the air.
Yes.
Exactly. Greg Clugston with us, SRN News White House correspondent. So, Greg, when you think about how things are in Washington, you mentioned the fact that we don't pass anything, it would seem, with any type of bipartisan anything. I wonder if there's, as we look forward to the midterm elections, what that means, what that's going to look like, how the whole map of the Capitol could change. What are you hearing, and is the White House talking about that at all?
Well, the White House isn't talking a lot about it because they're focused on a couple of bill signings this week, and also this package now that the Senate just passed over the weekend and is going to the House. And they're going to be putting all the focus and attention and emphasis there for the most part. But looking ahead to November, it is going to be interesting to see what happens. There are a couple of, if not more than two schools of thought as to what to think about the political trends heading into the November midterms. It's long been for several months now, and there's historical precedent to show that the party that has the control of the White House always loses, or often will lose seats in the midterm elections. And so that puts Republicans on a track for gaining ground, if not gaining control of the House and or the Senate. And that's still pretty much today, Kathy, is the outlook. But a couple of things have happened. Not only have we seen just in the last few days some legislative accomplishments that the White House can talk about and the Democrats can get behind, but also go back a few weeks to the overturning of Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court, and there is some indication that may be a generator of voter interest and involvement on the Democratic side heading into November. Again, we're not going to know until Election Day in November to see exactly how this all turns out. But there are several different pieces in play now that are a little bit different than they were, say, just 2 or 3 months ago.
Interesting. So, Greg, right before you joined us, Kath and I were talking about how wet it's been here in western Pennsylvania. Of course, nothing like what's happening in many places across the country. Kentucky really has been deluged by water. It looks as though the president is on his way to Kentucky soon after being, in isolation in the White House for some time. What can we expect to see?
Yeah, real quick on the isolation. He tested negative for COVID Saturday and Sunday. That cleared the way for him to come out of isolation and essentially re-engage publicly as normal. This was after his rebound case of COVID. He immediately yesterday morning went to his beach house in Delaware, and today he and the First Lady are in Kentucky, where they have been witnessing firsthand the deadly and just catastrophic damage from what Kentucky officials say is the worst flooding in their state's history.
Really?
More than 3 dozen people have died as a result of these very vicious storms and damaging floods. And so some of the pictures, as we've seen, in past natural disasters, are pretty heartbreaking. And so he was there getting updates from the governor, from other officials on the local ongoing response. He was pledging, as you would expect the president in this kind of situation, to offer federal assistance, which is what he did.
Very good. Well, Greg, let's talk about what happened over the weekend. CPAC, the conservative group that has been gathering since the early 1970s, gathered to much fanfare. But as they always do when CPAC meets, a straw poll is held to vote for the presumptive candidate for President of the United States from the Republican side. And the results were not surprising, were they?
No, I think the words Donald Trump come to mind, right?
Yes.
Is that where you're headed?
Exactly.
Yeah, he wins. It's a straw poll. CPAC held in Dallas this year. It's interesting. CPAC, Conservative Political Action Committee Conference, has typically for years and years was held in Washington, D.C. It was moved from a smaller hotel to a large conference complex to house the growing interest and all the media and everybody who attends these things. And they've gone off into Florida and Texas, a couple of southern states for the annual CPAC the last couple of years, but it hasn't changed the interest among these political conservative activists who attend the conference in terms of dampening their support for Donald Trump. So he continues to hold sway. I mean, we've been talking about through this primary season heading into the midterms, the influence that Donald Trump still has within the GOP, his endorsements of various candidates, and keeping sort of a win-loss record of how his endorsements have done. By and large, he has come out on the winning end in terms of seeing his preferred candidates come through. So that is just another demonstration of his continued hold, at least on part of the Republican Party.
And going back to the president, outstanding job numbers that came out today, shockingly good job numbers that came out today. Has the president commented on those? And, that's going to be another thing he's going to be able to hang his hat on as we move toward November.
Yeah, this number was a bit surprising in that it was larger than expected. There was a gain that was forecast by a lot of analysts, and so we were expecting that to be the case. And it was even better in terms of job creation and boosting employment and lowering the jobless rate nationwide. So yes, the president is, as presidents will do,
taking credit
a little
for
bit
it.
of credit. Yeah.
Sure.
And it's worth noting that presidents, no matter what political party, they always get more blame than they deserve, and they also take more credit sometimes than they deserve. And this is just one of those latest examples of, obviously, a White House will say, look, we are putting in place policies, economic policies that would make these kinds of good reports possible, and so that's the official White House take on that.
Very good.
All right, Greg, before you leave us, I'm excited to offer up a little piece of news today. Wondered if you'd heard about the French scientist Etienne Klein, who has apologized after tweeting a photo of a slice of sausage, claiming it was an image of a distant star taken by the James Webb Telescope. My question for you, Greg, have you ever
mistaken a universe?
Have you ever mistaken sausage for a distant galaxy? And have you ever tweeted a photo that you wish you could take back?
I would say no on both. I'm not a prolific photo tweeter or tweeter in general.
You're not on Instagram.
No. I'm just don't focus on that. Yeah. So I guess that's one positive aspect, right? If I'm not prolific in doing things, I'm not maybe as reluctant to say, "Ooh, I shouldn't have done that."
Right.
Would you ever have thought that you could mistake
salami?
Yes. No, it's chorizo for a distant galaxy.
Yeah, that's a little surprising. I mean, we always talk about how the sausage is made here in Washington, Capitol Hill. So I'm trying to think of a political connection there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think there is. It's just too deep for the three of us to really get into right now.
Oh, that's baloney. Come on.
Thank you, Greg.
Very nice, Greg. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Have a good week. Thanks.
You as well. Greg Clugston, SRN News, White House correspondent, Salem Radio Network. Greg does a fine job. Of course, you hear him as the week goes on in the newscast and upholding the tradition of the free press at the White House. Take a quick break. Come back. Flight tracking exposure irks billionaires and baddies. Oh, let's talk about this. Who's overhead? Let's find out.
Looking for quality patio furniture made right here in the USA? Hearth & Home Furnishings in Zelienople offers one of the largest selections of American-made wicker, cast aluminum, and marine-grade polymer pieces designed to bring comfort and style to your living space, from casual to sophisticated, seating for 2 to 10, in dozens of finishes and hundreds of fabrics, made to endure season after season. Hearth & Home Furnishings, family-owned since 1978 at hearthandhomepa.com.
This is Pastor Tom Hall. People are capable of such goodness. So why are we at war with each other? It turns out the Christian faith is completely realistic about human nature. Faith gives us the tools to examine ourselves and imagine a better future. Join us for worship at First Presbyterian Church of Pittsburgh, 326th Avenue, downtown, Sundays at 10:45 for our sermon series, What's Wrong with Us? Learn more at fpcp.org.
In marriage, life has a way of pulling you apart. But Family Life's Weekend to Remember Marriage Getaway helps you come back together.
Hey.
Join us in Pittsburgh, September 23rd through the 25th, or in Akron, October 14th through the 16th.
Brought us a lot closer together.
Register today and save 50% through September 19th at weekendtoremember.com.
Now that I've got your attention, let me tell you all about us. Whoa, tough crowd. Anybody out there? Hello? Anyone?
Fighting to be heard in today's competitive digital world?
It's time for Salem Surround. Let us handle everything and get your message seen and heard.
Let's turn up the volume on your business with Salem Surround.
Learn more by logging on to surroundpittsburgh.com. Surroundpittsburgh.com.
When your ride fires on all cylinders, so do you. That's why Napa is on a mission to keep you in motion. With nearly 6,000 Napa Auto Parts stores and over 17,000 Napa Auto Care centers, the Napa Network has everything you need to get up and go.
What is a warrior? At Portersville Christian School, it's more than a team name. A warrior is taught to serve, to passionately model the love of Christ toward neighbor, community, and world. To learn as they cultivate academic excellence and a lifelong love of learning from kindergarten to senior year. And to lead through Christian character and integrity. Are you a warrior? Discover Portersville Christian School, just 15 minutes north of Cranberry, where warriors are made, at ourpcs.org.
Listen on your smart speaker at wordfm.com, the Word FM app, iHeart, TuneIn, and on Odyssey. In your car or at home, too, at 101.5 WORD-FM, Pittsburgh.
Mostly cloudy tonight, warm and humid, a thunderstorm in spots late. Tonight's low 73. Variable cloudiness tomorrow with a couple of showers and a heavy thunderstorm. Storms could bring flooding downpours. It'll be humid with a high of 79. Cloudy and humid tomorrow night with a thunderstorm in 1 or 2 spots, low 65. Mostly cloudy and humid Wednesday with a high of 78. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm forecaster Drew Shannon.
Sitting in the backyard over the weekend, and occasionally a plane flies overhead. So I pull out my phone and I go to my new favorite app, which is Flight Tracker 24, and I look at my app and it instantly tells me where the plane is coming from, where it's headed, how high it is in the sky, any number of variables. It's really super cool. Flight Tracker 24.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently, there's some news that as you track these planes, it irks billionaires and the bad people, because now the billionaires, like people like me, now know that, oh, there's Elon Musk's plane flying overhead, or there's a bad guy from Saudi Arabia we should be aware of. 34,000 volunteers track these flights around the world. And apparently it's growing bigger and bigger. I look forward to just...
Why would you do that?
I thought about you because as I was doing it, I thought, this is fascinating. It's so interesting. How could CAF not want to be part of this?
Mm-hmm.
And
yet,
so you say no.
I'm still a holdout.
I can't believe it. Why would you not find it interesting? You're a curious person.
I am a curious person, but I'm not.
Flight Tracker 24. There it is.
Why would people be volunteering to track planes?
Because the world wants to know.
Why do they want to know?
It's what's up above, don't you? Haven't you ever looked in the sky and thought, who's up there? Wonder what they're doing. What's going on up there? Whose plane is that?
God, yes. Thinking about an airplane, I've never ever thought of that.
Really?
No,
I just am shocked by that. I can't believe
Christy,
it.
there's so much disappointment in his voice.
Well, I'm slightly disappointed too.
I
Thank
know.
you.
It's hard to bear both of you here.
Right. Well, look here. Look at this.
Yeah.
Look at how many planes just in the tri-state area.
It's shocking.
It is.
It's a shocking number of airplanes.
Yeah.
That actually is anxiety producing more than it's fulfilling some kind of curiosity I have.
Think it's incredible.
actually making me think, what the heck? It's like, is there enough air for that many planes?
Apparently, they've been doing it for many, many decades. So what's interesting, over my backyard, in the short span I was out there were like 3 flights coming in from Orlando. And you think, there's like a lot of people coming in from Disney World, right? And a lot of flights from New York City, which makes sense.
When's the last time you were in Disney World, Christy?
Disney World, probably my senior year of high school.
John?
I remember it very clearly. It was the one and only time.
Oh.
It was September of 1979.
Okay.
I had a massive metal contraption around my right ankle. I was on crutches, which necessitated me climbing in and out of those crazy rides with a pair of crutches on. Yes.
But you still went?
I went. Yeah, sure. It was a family thing that was already planned. Was I going to say no? No, I went. How about you?
It was 1981 for me.
Oh, see.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot's changed.
Oh,
in the
no. That's not true. I was back in 85.
Okay.
I went twice.
I was at Universal this year.
Were you?
Yeah, right down the street from
Right
Disney.
down the road.
How was that?
It was so much fun.
Really?
Was it?
Yeah.
Fun in what way? Like, what's the deal there?
Since I haven't been there since high school, so they've changed it drastically. There's a whole bunch of new things.
Are there roller coasters?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's great.
Universal, like the film studio, owns it.
I guess, yeah.
So is there like film things?
Like there's film rides.
Film rides? What do you mean film rides?
There's a whole Harry Potter world.
Oh,
there's like a Fast and the Furious ride.
Oh, see, yeah, of course.
It's fun.
So it holds up the franchise.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What about if the 3 of us go?
Well, I don't know about that.
All right.
I mean,
Thank you, Christy. Again.
Thanks, John.
Boy, it's so hard. It's
he
like
never wants to hang out with us.
I know. It's like
time off is so
once
rare.
the curtain goes down at 6 p.m., it's all over.
No. I mean,
what it is.
Just time is really precious.
Yeah, and so you don't want to waste it on the 2 of us.
Well, I love you guys,
okay.
But I need to go home.
But you want more time to spend tracking planes.
I kind of do. I like to sit outside
really
and look at lunch meat through a telescope. Right?
Coming up next, a letter to a prodigal, to my friend who left the faith.
101.5 WORD.
Next time on PowerPoint with Jack Graham.
As you have received the Lord, walk in him. That's what Paul says in the book of Galatians. The way we receive the Lord, how? Is by grace through faith. The way we walk in him is the same way that we have received him, and that is by grace through faith.
Tune in next time for PowerPoint with Jack Graham.
PowerPoint tonight at 9:30 on 101.5 WORD.
Hi, I'm Todd Nettleton, and this is the Voice of the Martyrs Radio. Before being transformed by the gospel, Pang studied to become a Buddhist monk in his homeland of Myanmar. But now, Pang and his wife go door to door sharing Jesus with their neighbors. However, their good news is not always welcomed. After several villagers became Christians and were baptized, 100 people armed with axes, stones, and slingshots descended on Pang's home, smashing windows, breaking doors, and destroying the family's Bible. And another time, attackers punched Pang in the face and called his wife vulgar names. Pray Pang and his wife will continue to forgive their neighbors as they reach the lost with the truth of God's Word.
I will not let my brothers and sisters suffer in silence.
Nor will I let them serve alone.
To join me in prayer for persecuted Christians,
go to vomradio.net.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. It's really frustrating to deal with out-of-pocket medical expenses, watching your hard-earned dollars just flying out the window. Well, here's something that can really help, and it's worth taking a minute to look into. Medi-Share has a new option called Medi-Share 65 Plus. Medi-Share is a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it really is a community. People encourage and pray for each other. And Medi-Share 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B that fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. You can lock in one low monthly price for up to 10 years. It's great for peace of mind. You can use your Medicare-approved doctor and get prescription savings, dental and vision savings. Very worth looking into, and it's so easy to find out why people rave about the customer service at Medi-Share. They're great to talk to on the phone. Here's the number. Call 833-SHARE-55. That's 833-SHARE-55. 833-SHARE-55.
Train up a child in the way they should go. Well, you know the rest. It's a calling you take very seriously as a Christian parent. And Trinity Christian School in Forest Hills seeks to honor your commitment by working together with parents to prepare students who are academically sound and spiritually ready to take their place in the world through a classical approach to education that helps build a faith from which they will never depart. Trinity Christian School, one of the top K-12 schools in Allegheny County, at trinitychristian.net.
We were talking last week about doubt and unbelief. Remember this conversation?
I do.
A very slippery slope, wasn't it? It's a little, I think, for people who you enter into a period of doubt, and then, at least for me, whenever I do this, in the back of my head, I kind of go, oh no, am I falling into unbelief? You ever think that?
Yeah, sure.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's good to know we're not alone. I think this is a pretty common thing.
Yep.
Wade Bearden is back with us. Wade's been our guest over the years. He is a speaker, a film critic, a pastor. Each week, Wade co-hosts Seeing and Believing. It's a Christ and pop culture podcast about film and television. Wade's also on the faculty in the Bible and Theology department at Southwestern Assemblies of God University. But Wade's here to tell a story about a faith journey with a good friend and how sadly it's taken a fork in the road. His new work is called To My Friend Who Left the Faith, a letter to a prodigal from a prodigal. Wade Bearden. Wade, welcome back.
Hey, John and Kathy. It's really good to talk to you all again. It's been a little bit.
It has. We're happy you're back with us, Wade, and this looks like a really interesting project that you've completed. I guess let's start talking about your friend. When did you meet?
Yeah. So, this is a book that I wrote with one friend in mind, but at the same time, I have a lot of friends that I grew up with in church that are no longer in church. And it's kind of sad to look back and look at a lot of your close friendships and to see y'all go different ways. And so over the years, I've had a conversation with this friend and with other friends. And they've been good conversations because they were rooted in friendship, not just strangers online kind of arguing with each other. And I thought, sometimes I'm not the best off the cuff. What if I sat down and I wrote this friend some letters and I talked about some of his biggest questions about the faith and also just shared my own story about doubt, unbelief. Even though we went through Bible college and became a pastor after Bible college, you still experience those feelings. And so, that's how this project, how it came about.
Good. So, Wade, this idea of doubt, that kernel of doubt turning into unbelief, I mean, I don't think it happens quickly. There is, what people are talking about, what they're devolving. Is that the deal? What people are devolving? Has that happened to you in some way where you really started to sit down and question maybe a kernel of doubt and it turned into some avenue that you were surprised by?
It did, and that's happened to me a couple times in life, and in some ways, I think it can be natural, right? So you grow up, and if you grow up in church, you learn about the Bible, you learn about faith, but there comes this point where you have to ask yourself, well, I know what I believe, but why do I believe it? And I've heard that this is, true, but why do I believe that that's true? And as Christians, we feel that internal witness of the Holy Spirit, but we're also human beings in this fallen world, and so we experience that doubt. And it's interesting because I kind of felt a little scared to talk about doubt in church. And as I got older and became a youth pastor, I was working with students, and I realized, the best place to talk about our doubts is the church. Mm-hmm. And instead of saying, "Oh no, you just got to believe," let's say, "Hey, let's ask these questions. Let's talk about this," and to also differentiate between those core Christian beliefs and then maybe denominational beliefs or beliefs that can vary from Christian to Christian, and I think that's important. And so I've been thinking about these things for a long time and experiencing them in my life, and just had a chance to kind of write that down and kind of work my way through that through this book.
That's good, Wade. I think you've hit on something that a lot of people perhaps might not understand who are outside the faith, and even people who are peripherally involved in faith. Maybe the questions they have are not questions about Jesus himself, but are more questions about a local church or about a denomination or about some kind of, particular doctrine or practice. And that's a little bit of a different animal. Not that both can't be discussed or shouldn't be discussed. They should be discussed. But again, it's just a matter of, it might be good to isolate. Okay, so what are we really struggling with?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, C.S. Lewis, his book, Mere Christianity, he's saying, hey, let's look at some of these big questions before we get into these denominational questions. And I think as Christians, we need to be able to do that and be open about that. And I think that goes a long way. And two, having empathy with people. John, you mentioned a second ago, you talked about how you've gone through periods of doubt. And I think we've all gone through that. And I think we need to empathize with individuals who've been hurt by the church, who've experienced pain and suffering. And I think so many times it's really easy to defend the church, and we do, right? The church is important. But there have been a lot of people who've been hurt by church or hurt by other Christians, and being able to just kind of get on their level and help them to know that we understand, while also not being that Christian who does the hurting. And I think that's important.
So many of our relationships are built around particular times in our life, right? Our high school friends, our college friends. And so, Wade, in your friend, when you write to my friend who left the faith, your friendship was really formed in seminary. And so when that friend steps away from the faith, it sort of, I'm not saying it negates the friendship, but, the core experiences of you growing together in your faith and your friendship at seminary, it certainly changes the friendship. I mean, it had to dissolve things in some way. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's hard because there are friendships I had in high school or seminary as well, where their life took a turn, and you kind of lose some of that foundation. Luckily, being able to, I write this book to someone that I'm still friends with, but it does change friendships, because you say, hey, this is the most important thing in my life, and the other person says, that's not the most important thing in my life, and so it's a matter of trying to work through that. And that's not always easy, and it strains relationships, and maybe you're not as close as before, but it's always good. It's always good when you can pick things up where you left off. You're having that foundation and being able to continue forward despite being so different. That's not always easy, but it's fruitful when it does happen.
Yes. And I think oftentimes when I talk to people who have left the faith, one of the things that comes up is, well, the church has hurt so many people. I mean, it's hurt me individually. Clearly, it's hurt. I mean, if you're in church long enough, right? I mean, a decade or so, you're going to get hurt by the church. It's because the church is full of, flawed, messy people. I'll raise my hand there. But historically, people will go, well, you look at the Crusades, look at the Inquisition, all that. I mean, it's hard to navigate your way through the historical hurts and the personal hurts, and at the same time talk to a friend who has left the faith and be that that balm, that healer, because it's an awful lot to try to make sense of your own faith and at the same time trying to encourage your friend's lack of faith.
It is, and it's kind of what I mentioned a second ago. You want to defend the church, but also you have to realize that, your hurt is valid. And I write a little bit in the book about how as a pastor, I was hurt. And at the same time acknowledging that I was not a perfect pastor, and I'm sure I hurt other people just by not caring enough or being empathetic enough or loving enough. And it really can be hard. But then on the flip side, you also look at the reality of, human rights as we know it stem from Christianity. And I mentioned this book by the British historian Tom Holland called Dominion. It's a great book. But essentially he says that our world, we value human beings or say we're all created equal because of Christianity. That's not something that happens apart from it. And so there is that balance of acknowledging that hurt and expressing sorrow, but then also saying, hey, but look at what the love of Christ has done in the world. Just walking that balance.
Yeah, and historian Tom Holland, not a believer, from what I understand, or not yet a believer. And so his perspective on that, even of particular interest to me when he said that, Wade. So for people who are struggling themselves, it's one thing. If you've got a friend who's struggling, it's one thing. To me, the thing I keep, I've gone through struggles myself, and so I've had friends who've pulled me back. It's been the reverse. But when I was the one who was doubting or straying or what, the last thing I wanted was someone shaking their finger at me. Or, try that. It just grated on me big time.
Shame will push you away.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like that too, in the same ideas, like when you're going through suffering and pain, you usually don't want a friend showing up and saying, hey, let me give you a defense of pain and suffering in our world from a biblical perspective. Usually, what do you want? You want someone coming and just saying, hey, what can I do to help? I love you. I care about you. That doesn't mean that those defenses aren't important, but it's important for certain times. And I think as Christians, we have to sort of navigate that of saying, when is the right time to really speak the truth, and when is the right time to we speak the truth, but we're just, our presence is there. We show our love to other individuals, and knowing that it just takes a lot of wisdom, doesn't it?
Sure does. Wade Bearden's with us. To my friend who left the faith, a letter to a prodigal from a prodigal. Wade, just a minute or so left here. At the very last letter you write, you say, "What can I do but cling to Jesus?" I mean, what else is there?
We are fickle creatures. We experience doubt, and that'll happen to all of us. And sometimes we don't know how to make sense of the world, but we can cling to Jesus, knowing that He clings to us. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I have. That's what I know for certain in life is is Christ, not by like this rigid certainty per se, but this wonder of faith. And really when I talk to people about Christianity, what better way than to just talk to them about Jesus and knowing that he's going to do that good work.
Check out the new book, To My Friend Who Left the Faith, A Letter to a Prodigal from a Prodigal. We've been talking to author Wade Bearden. Wade, good to hear from you.
Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
We'll step away for just a minute. This day in history, 1974, Tricky Dick exits and flies away.
Before Bamboo HR, I feel like crying just thinking about it.
We were still handling everything via paper, and we literally had paper stacked.
It was all in spreadsheets and like folders.
From the moment I started using it, I felt calmer.
As soon as we started using the Bamboo like onboarding checklist, I mean, it was extremely easy.
Headcount, turnover, years of service. Like there's just so many different reports that I use at different points in time.
I'm like totally set free to focus on the people, to focus on development, to focus on team dynamics.
It's freeing me up to do more of the stuff that actually matters in HR, which is interacting with people, learning from them, and then building stuff for them.
Everything is in this one place. I can't even imagine what it would be like without Bamboo HR.
We're Bamboo HR, and we'd love to set you free to do great work. Come try our award-winning all-in-one HR software for free with no strings attached. Visit bamboohr.com/HR for this free trial offer. That's bamboohr.com/HR.
The word around town is that Pittsburgh homeowners are choosing doing it right when it comes to their roofing, siding, and remodeling projects.
That's because since 1984, Doing It Right roofing, siding, remodeling continues to set the bar through clear communication and an installation that's second to none.
Doing It Right employs only the most experienced professionals to install and oversee your project.
They'll stop at nothing to ensure your satisfaction, doing business honestly, taking no money down and no payment until the job is complete.
Doing It Right will ensure all work is installed to the industry's highest standards, then back it all up with their lifetime workmanship warranty.
As a prestigious multi-award-winning Owens Corning Platinum contractor, as well as a VSI certified installation contractor, you can't go wrong with Doing It Right.
Mention John and Kathy for a discount off your estimate.
Call 724-NEW-ROOF for a free project evaluation or visit roofingcontractorpittsburgh.com.
Want it done right, call Doing It Right.
What is a warrior? At Portersville Christian School, it's more than a team name. A warrior is taught to serve, to passionately model the love of Christ toward neighbor, community, and world, to learn as they cultivate academic excellence and a lifelong love of learning from kindergarten to senior year, and to lead through Christian character and integrity. Are you a warrior? Discover Portersville Christian School just 15 minutes north of Cranberry, where warriors are made at ourpcs.org.
Trip to Europe. Visit all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums. Go skydiving. Okay, so you know what you want to do in retirement, but do you know how to get there? Tune into Your Retirement Blueprint with Kurt Kenotic and Ethan Lane of Accurate Solutions Group, Saturdays at 10 a.m. to get answers to your retirement planning questions. Plan today so you can do the things you've always dreamt about doing in retirement. Listen every Saturday morning at 10 to Your Retirement Blueprint with Accurate Solutions Group. Investment advisory services offered through ASG Investment Management, LLC.
48 years ago this evening, then President of the United States, Richard Nixon, sat in front of a television camera and announced to the Republic that he was resigning from the presidency. It sent shockwaves through the country. There was a sense of jubilation in some quarters, outrage from others. But Nixon said, by taking this action, quote, I hope that I will have hastened the start of the process of healing, which is so desperately needed in America. And then the following day, right before noon, from the lawn of the White House, President Nixon stepped aboard a helicopter along with his wife and children and his son-in-laws and flew away after giving the wave and the peace sign or the victory sign, which closed a very harsh and sad and divisive chapter in American history 48 years ago.
Wow. It's my very first memory of television.
I bet. Do you remember that day whenever he flew away?
I don't remember him flying away, but I remember him resigning because my dad made me watch it with him. I had to sit on his lap and watch it on the Zenith console television. I remember it well.
I mean,
I don't remember ever seeing TV before that. I
Really?
did see TV before that. I did.
Sure.
But that's the first thing I remember watching.
kudos to your dad to say, this is history. Yeah. You've got to watch this. Mm-hmm. I mean, in our household, it was massive because Nixon was such a lightning rod generationally. I mean, there were, still many of the old guard, my parents, and the young guard, us as kids, we were split along those generational lines.
So your parents defended him?
Towards the end, I mean, towards the end,
right.
It was hard to defend anything because, every day new and increasingly vicious reports came out about his dealings in the White House and his criminal behavior in the White House.
And all the people that were supporting him as a moral leader, once the tapes came out, right, he didn't sound like much of a moral leader.
No, he lost all agency. So towards the end, pretty much everybody in our family was like, yeah, he does have to go. I remember, my mother cried. My sisters cheered. It was an emotional moment. People, and it started, of course, during the Vietnam War and what has come out since. Nixon's lying about the Vietnam War, of course, what he knew about Watergate and his actions to move forward.
One thing he did have, though, shame.
Well, it was short-lived.
And our politicians now, I think they've lost I don't think there is any of that anymore.
He made money on his shame with the interview with David Frost, which the country was grateful to hear more about that.
Ask Alexa to play the word Pittsburgh to hear us there. We're on your Google speaker too, plus iHeart, TuneIn, and on Odyssey. 101.5 WORD-FM, Pittsburgh.
Choice in healthcare.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Senate Democrats have passed their long sought-after economic legislation. The tax and spend bill now goes to the House.
The estimated $740 billion package is less than the trillions Democrats were initially pushing, but it still checks off many of the costly items liberals were hoping for. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell summed up GOP opposition, tweeting, quote, "Americans' priorities are crystal clear. Inflation, the economy, crime, and the border." His tweet continued, quote, "But not one Senate Democrat would agree to take one dime out of their Green New Deal nonsense to cut inflation, fight crime, or secure the border." Ken Lorman reporting.
President Biden and the First Lady in Kentucky meeting with families and viewing damage from storms that have resulted in the worst flooding in Kentucky's history. This is SRN News.
Did you know that when you buy a mattress from a retail store, that mattress is being sold for the second time? What do I mean? Well, the manufacturer sells the mattress to the retailer, who in turn sells it to you with costs and markups for both parties. This is Greg Trzynski, and at the Original Mattress Factory, we have our own factory right here at our store. So the mattress you buy is being sold for the first and only time. That's why our prices are hundreds less than the mainstream brands. Visit originalmattress.com to learn more.
With a new college semester right around the corner, your student might need a new mattress for their apartment or dorm. At the Original Mattress Factory, we hand-build twin extra-long mattresses and box springs that are commonly used in college dorms. In fact, we offer twin extra-long mattresses in a variety of models to match every budget and comfort preference. And we can deliver to anywhere in the U.S., including colleges and universities. Visit originalmattress.com or an Original Mattress Factory store near you to learn more.
The most beautiful things in life start small, from a single seed. At Bedner's Farm and Greenhouse, with the aid of warm sun, fertile soil, and expert hands, those seeds blossom into gardens of fresh produce, delicious wines, and beautiful landscapes. Here at Bedner's Thriving Family Farming Garden Center, you'll find everything you need to inspire your own homegrown happiness. Bedner's Farm and Greenhouse in McDonald, making the world beautiful since 1917 at bednersgreenhouse.com.
In marriage, life has a way of pulling you apart. But Family Life's Weekend to Remember Marriage Getaway helps you come back together.
Hey.
Join us in Pittsburgh, September 23rd through the 25th, or in Akron, October 14th through the 16th.
Brought us a lot closer together.
Register today and save 50% through September 19th at weekendtoremember.com.
I want to take more chances with the embroidering.
Henley's vision for a new clothing line is coming into focus.
Dramatic.
They'll need an on-staff photographer to put their collection in the spotlight.
Why is no one taking shots of these?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Before I came to RPTS, I was a church planter and pastor for 22 years, and I found a lot of confusion about what really constitutes a church.
Dr. Barry York, president of RPTS.
We want, first and foremost, our ministers to know what a church is and what the church really needs, so how to develop the preaching ministry, why we practice the sacraments, how to properly care for God's people, and that you exercise proper oversight of them.
The church needs servants like you. Are you ready? Visit rpts.edu.
Mostly cloudy tonight, warm and humid. A thunderstorm in spots late. Tonight's low 73. Variable cloudiness tomorrow with a couple of showers and a heavy thunderstorm. Storms could bring flooding downpours. It'll be humid with a high of 79. Cloudy and humid tomorrow night with a thunderstorm in 1 or 2 spots. Low 65. Mostly cloudy and humid Wednesday with a high of 78. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm forecaster Drew Shannon.
Welcome to another edition of The Ride Home with John and Kathy, live from the Salem-Pittsburgh studios. And now here are your hosts, John Hall and Kathy Emmons.
We are really sad to report the passing of David McCullough at 89 years of age yesterday. David McCullough, one of the bright literary lights over the 20th century, and even equally sad to say that he's passed away, but proud to say that he was a Pittsburgher and never, ever forgot his roots.
David McCullough, absolutely a preeminent writer. For anyone who loves history and is frustrated in reading dry stuff, you think really history is could be a magnetic thing. Why are you making it so boring?
He did not.
Well, he was the person you'd turn to and say, it just makes it come alive.
Yep.
The first thing I ever read by David McCullough was John Adams. And I read it pretty shortly after I got married. I was in Lancaster visiting my in-laws, and we had a big snowstorm. And we were really sequestered. And I just took to that book. I think I finished it in 2 days.
No kidding.
I mean, it's a big book. But he was a storyteller, John.
Yep. He won 2 Pulitzer Prizes for 2 presidential biographies, Truman in 1992 and the aforementioned John Adams in 2001. David McCullough also received National Book Awards for The Path Between the Seas, The Creation of the Panama Canal, 1977, and Mornings on Horseback from 1981 about the young Theodore Roosevelt and his family. Now, tellingly so, he got his start, from Pittsburgh. Then he went to Yale, where he majored in literature. No surprise there. But then right out of college, he worked for the government. And then from there, he wrote his first book, The Johnstown Flood, in 1968, which he received great reviews.
Not a subject that's going to attract a huge amount of attention. I mean, attention in this area, but not a whole lot of attention. It turned out it was the opposite.
Yep.
People read this book and they were shocked by what a storyteller he was, as he was telling, really a regional story that had national reach.
Sure did. So with the success of the Johnstown flood and the support of his wife, who sadly passed away just this past June, he decided to quit his day job and would write history and biography full-time while they raised their 5 kids. Can you imagine that? I mean, that's a lot of moxie. You get a lot of confidence in yourself. I'm reading from today's New York Times. He talks about being under this hypnotic spell that he said as he would go into the writing process, he would dig down so deep into it that he said it was as though I was hypnotized. But then he said, if I had to, for whatever reason, take a break and step away from my writing for a day or so, it took him a while to go back in and find that hypnotic spell once again. But he said always he was happy to find it.
He would do things like when he was writing about Harry Truman, he grew a beard.
Oh, right.
I think it was.
Or was take morning walks.
He would take morning walks like Harry Truman did. But he grew a beard when he was writing a book about somebody. I'm not sure who that was because he had a beard.
Right.
And he said, quote, and we're reading here from the New York Times, I think of writing history as an art form, he said. And I'm striving to write a book that might qualify as literature. I don't want it just to be readable. I don't want it just to be interesting. I want it to be something that moves the reader and moves me.
Fabulous. Now, Kath and I have had an occasion to be in his company. I had a very a brief but very strange encounter. I think it was probably more than 10 years ago. I was coming home from a really long trip. I was, I think, in Ethiopia. And, that's like 14 plus hours traveling. I came finally to the Pittsburgh airport. And, I went down the escalator and got into the little subway, the tram. And waiting on the platform, the entire platform was deserted, but there was David McCullough and his wife. The doors opened for the subway. We got inside, the three of us. The car was empty, and I'm never starstruck, but I was starstruck there. Here's what I love so much. I got in, and you know how it is. If you've ever traveled long in an airplane, I'm sure I looked like a hot mess. I was just a mess. David McCullough and his wife, they were dressed impeccably. It was as though they had just come from some gala. And they were dressed, there was David in a suit and tie. His wife, I believe, was wearing a string of pearls. They were refined from another generation. I nodded. He nodded back, and I left it at that. I could not bring myself to say anything.
That's great.
Now, we saw him at the Heinz History Center.
Probably 5 years ago.
The Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers, right. When the Wright brothers came out, he, being a close friend of Andy Masix, who's the head of the Heinz History Center, had a special evening with David, and we were privileged to be invited to that. And David got up on, Andy introduced him, and then David got up on stage to talk about the Wright brothers. And I'm telling you, he talked for an hour. He never looked at a note.
No.
He never looked at a note. At that time, he was 84 years old.
Yeah, right.
And he just talked, and he didn't talk, like a little bit. He talked well.
Deep.
He talked beautifully, deeply. I mean, he had such command of that material and of those two men he was speaking of, Wilbur and Orville. And such a grasp of how they fit into the history of the time and what it meant for us today. I am so happy we were there that night.
Me too. Anyway, so as we're reading about David McCullough today, any number of his books have been made into miniseries or films or whatnot. There's a plethora of places you can go now with the gift of streaming to find David McCullough's works. I'm looking forward to going back and watching the first time. Rewatching.
I've never read The Panama Canal,
which I love.
I would love to read that. I've never read Truman.
And here's the thing. His narration career as a voiceover artist.
Oh my gosh.
Massive.
Right. So Ken Burns.
Oh my gosh.
He did, I don't remember what series he did for Ken.
Civil War
is what he did for Ken. He also was in Seabiscuit as far as the narration for that. Journalist and blogger Gary North said, incredibly, you don't want him to shut up. Yeah. That's what he said. His voice, not imperious, yet not exactly soothing either, comes on and we all become more calm.
Yes. We're thrilled to call him a son of Pittsburgher.
Yeah. We are.
So the sad passing of David McCullough, a life very well lived, passing away yesterday at the age of 89.
Go across the David McCullough Bridge tonight.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We'll take a quick break, and when we do come back, we're going to talk with Reverend Kurt Bjorklund. He has a story to tell.
101.5 WORD.
Coming up on Love Worth Finding.
Do you want to be a champion of faith?
Feelings are fickle. Faith keeps us steady. You're no stronger than your faith. The Bible says, according to your faith, be it unto you. And I want you to be a champion of faith.
Join us for more of Adrian Rogers' series, Champions of Faith, this month on Love Worth Finding.
Tonight at 11 on 101.5 WORD.
Our little brother says the word dodo word 40 times a day. Should we be saying that word on Word FM? You started it. Okay. So, here we are with Uncle Ryan with 3 reasons why you'd be a tweet if you bought a home this year and didn't use us at United Faith Mortgage.
The biggest reason is our direct lender advantage. We use our own money.
And there's no middleman, which means
we can often get you a better rate, saving you monthly and lifelong money.
We also pay $1,000 of your closing costs on all new home purchases.
And just as important to me as saving listeners money is the super service part. Our small team is specifically committed to Word FM. You will not get to a closing and find anything hidden. It's a partnership all the way around.
So, don't via, and we're done. We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Mortgage Corp, Melville, New York. NMLS number 1330. Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities. Mortgage lender license 22672.
When it's time to replace your roof, siding, gutters, and downspouts, entry doors, and of course windows, you can count on Windows R Us, the area's premier exterior replacement company. This is John Steigerwald. With over 50 years experience in the home remodeling industry, Windows R Us offers repair and replacement for all your exterior home projects. Why pay double with some other companies? Windows R Us will always give you the best price on the best in-class products, backed by the best warranties in the industry, all with zero sales pressure. And speaking of zero, right now, get zero interest financing for 12 months and no processing fee with prices set to increase on all exterior products. Lock in your quote today. Schedule a free estimate and inspection today at WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. You've tried the rest, now try the best. WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com.
Windows R Us. You've tried the rest, now try the best.
Studies show decades of increased taxpayer spending per student has failed to improve educational performance. Can't we do better? Pittsburgh's Christian schools say we can. Right now, local Christian schools are offering half-price tuitions for first-time enrollees, like Cornerstone Prep in West Mifflin. If you're looking for a safe environment for kids to learn, where character matters and academic excellence is served by highly qualified teachers, consider Christian education. Visit wordfm.com/tuitions.
I think it's true that life is full of very strange and surprising twists and turns. Reverend Kurt Bjorklund is with us. Kurt is a senior pastor at Orchard Hill Church. And over the years, we've booked so many thousands of guests. Kurt has been a regular on our show over those many years. And so conversations about guest arrangements come in over email, telephone calls, sometimes texts. But it's rare to get a text like I received from Kurt Bjorklund. This was late on a Sunday night, almost midnight, from May 29th. And Kurt was kind enough to text me and say this: "Sorry to text late, but I wanted to take care of this while I am lucid for a few minutes." And then from that, Kurt began to tell a story. Kurt, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you, John. It's good to be upright and ready to talk.
Yes.
Listen, Kurt, we've prayed a lot for you since that text came in. You have never been far from our thoughts, and so we're eagerly looking forward to this day when you could tell us how you are and the story of how you got to where you are.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, that was Memorial Day weekend. I had gone with my family to a place that we have, and I was up on the roof blowing some debris off, and it's a metal roof. I was about 16, 18 feet off the ground, and I got a little water, took a step, caught the water, and went flying off the roof. And so I fell about that 16 to 18 feet. And so that was, pretty good fall. And we immediately, I could not really move to stand up. I could move my feet and hands, so I was pretty certain I wasn't paralyzed. And we immediately started thinking, okay, we need to get to a hospital sooner rather than later because there could be internal bleeding. And we were a good distance from Pittsburgh, but after a couple of just iterations and thought processes, decided to get in the car and drive rather than call an ambulance. And we ended up getting all the way back to Pittsburgh and the hospital we'd normally go to. And I knew my boys were there, and they helped me get in the car. I knew that I had probably hurt my pelvis and my shoulder, but that, was kind of what we were thinking. So we got to the emergency department and went in, and they confirmed that the shoulder was broken and the pelvis and the internal scan and everything. And so I ended up with a broken shoulder and 4 breaks in my pelvis.
Oh my gosh, Kurt.
A good bit of almost all of June and a little bit of all of June, a little bit of July in a wheelchair and not walking at all. And then July 4th I got on crutches. And just last week I started to walk again. So I'm really recovering really, really well from the fall.
Excellent.
And really hopeful, and I know I'm really fortunate. The way that I fell, I ended up falling on my left side entirely, and if I had just slanted a little bit in any direction, you could have ended up with a broken neck, a shattered leg. If you get your arm out, you really shatter your arm. On your back isn't a good thing. On your stomach, you could damage internal organs again.
Could have hit your head and died.
I feel like, yeah, absolutely. I Googled it, actually, while driving to the my wife was driving. I wasn't driving and Googling and injured, but my wife was driving, and I Googled it, and falls from, I think it was 15 to 20 feet, account for 20% of the fall deaths, and all of them from 20 feet and down are like 40%. So, wow. Yeah, we just had one of those, wow, we felt so fortunate. And then the doctor came in the emergency room and said, you have some good news. There's no internal bleeding, but I have some other news. You have several enlarged lymph nodes along your esophagus and lung cavities. And, you don't have to Google that to know that that's not good. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up meeting with an oncologist in the days that followed, and kind of walking down that whole path of wondering exactly what was going on.
No, wait, Kurt. So you fall off a roof, you hurt yourself badly, but then they say, oh, you might have cancer.
Yeah, and they certainly didn't say that night, but they didn't have to. They knew exactly what they were saying. And then obviously we met with an oncologist, which is a cancer doctor, so that does tell you the concern. And I did ask, I said, we're going to research this, so tell us kind of the range here and what you think. And he said, obviously we don't know anything until we do a biopsy definitively, but he said this looks like lymphoma. And he said you have a chance that this could be esophageal cancer, and that's really a brutal cancer. There's about a 1 in 5 survival rate after 5 years. And so, but I was in no position to go in for a biopsy. My body was too beat up.
Yeah.
So we basically had almost 5 weeks of sitting with that, waiting for a biopsy.
Oh my gosh.
And we just had that kind of cloud over us, and really mentally thought that was the direction it was going. And so that was, it was definitely quite an event, because you sense God's hand in protecting you in the fall, and then even more having a sense of maybe by early detection helping me ward off something that's even more concerning.
Right. I mean, I can't imagine. It's kind of like every guy's worst nightmare, where your wife sees you fall off of a roof. I mean, I can't imagine the terror that you experience in those early moments, and then for 5 weeks of that amplification of terror.
Yeah. I wasn't able to really move much in those first weeks, so I was sleeping in the first floor of our house on a sofa because I couldn't go up and down stairs. Yeah. And so I think both my wife and I spent a lot of time down what we call some bad rabbit holes in the middle of the night, researching, reading about it, all that goes with that. And during that time, I started to, know that I was still going to come back to work at the church. So I started working on a message, and I remember showing my wife. I said, "Yeah, I've been working on this," and I had two arrows. One, if I got what we considered, more positive news, and one with more negative news. And my wife said, "You need to write a talk that is one talk that's true no matter what."
Wow.
And so we, through a series of some things, really tried to say, okay, what is it we're going to affirm regardless of the outcome? And in my normal flow of Bible reading, I was in Matthew, and I came to a section in Matthew where Jesus tells the disciples he's going to suffer and die, and Peter rebukes him, which is kind of funny. Peter saying, "Hey, that'll never happen to you, Jesus." And Jesus says, "Get behind me, Satan," to Peter. And in essence, he says this, and he says, "You're not thinking the thoughts of God, you're thinking like a mere human being." And what I began to see is that so often when we suffer, and again, this is right now in the place of I have no idea how pervasive or what's ahead for me. But often our human thinking is if I love God and if God loves me, then I shouldn't have really bad things happen to me. And yet that can't be true, because Jesus loved God, was loved by God ultimately, and went to the cross. And his very words back to Peter when Peter challenged that was to say, "Get behind me, Satan. That's not real." And so that became an important thought process to my wife and me and our boys during this time, our 4 boys and our daughter-in-law. And I ended up getting a biopsy toward the end of June, and ended up not having cancer, having another issue that was causing the lymph nodes to be enlarged. And now we're able to address that in part because of the fall. And so we feel very fortunate. I said when I spoke about this at our church, I said, I feel like God did a miraculous thing in our lives. And at the same time, I'm hesitant to say that, not because I don't believe it, but because I know from having sat with so many people over the years that it doesn't always turn out. I know enough people, obviously, who when they get the lab report back, it's not on the positive side for them.
Right.
And so finding those things that we can affirm and say, I believe this is true, regardless of what happens, really is a part of a spiritual journey that's pretty important. And in that same passage, the other thing that happens, it goes on, and Jesus says some stuff that's well known about if you lose your life, you'll gain it, and if you gain your life, you'll lose it. And we usually read that without the earlier context there and just use it as a challenge, like give your life away for the gospel or something. And that's not a poor way to read it, but in the context, it seems that what Jesus is driving at is he's saying, you think that when something's bad, it's just bad. But if it works something of eternal significance, then you need to see that eternal significance is worth more than the value you place on what it is that you're valuing right now. And that's so hard for us in the midst of it. Certainly, I feel like I have an extension of days right now and feel hopeful. I know if this had been different, there would be struggle. And it's interesting. I think the cancer would have been hard, but being confined to a wheelchair for the rest of my life may have been even harder.
I bet.
Yeah.
And so, I want to believe that my outlook would be similar, and that's what I want to be true for me. And so that's, but obviously you never know until you walk through it. And that's why I say I hesitate to not acknowledge that there are a lot of hardships that are very different for people as they walk through their own hardships.
Wow, Kurt, it's an amazing story. Kurt Bjorklund with us, senior pastor at Orchard Hill Church. Kurt, in all of that, those particular 5 weeks of uncertainty when you waiting for a biopsy, waiting to, see how you'd recover from the fall, all of that, I'm sure you didn't feel much like a pastor. You just felt like a dude, right? And so I wonder how people at your church have dealt with you during that time. Did they kind of, deal with you like, well, you're special, and so you don't doubt or you don't worry or, those sorts of things? Or were you surrounded by people that got the fact that this is just a human experience? You're not immune from it being a pastor.
Oh, no. Our community of faith was so supportive and amazing during this time. Just the love, the prayers, the support, the kindnesses that were extended. We felt the depth of spiritual community in significant ways, and knew and sensed the prayers of so many of God's people on our behalf. The presence was unmistakable. It wasn't easy, but it was unmistakable that God's hand was in the midst of it. And I guess every spiritual community is different, and everybody experiences the same spiritual community differently. So even a community that's awesome for one person may not be for the next, and I understand that. But for us, just the depth of friendships and relationships and long-time connections, new connections, was just so rich that I can't imagine walking through it without deep community.
And I'm sure this has been part of your life, Kurt. I broke my ankle badly when I was in my early 20s, and I remember my roommates at the time. Yeah, my roommates were, going, "I'm not going to walk to the store. You walk to the store." And I thought, man, if I could just walk to the store, I would be so happy. But when you lose something like that, your physicality somehow, it gives you this great appreciation for the strength and the miracle of which you've just taken no notice of up until that point.
Oh, absolutely. Walking is such a gift, and until it's taken away for almost 10 weeks, you don't even realize that how much of a gift it is to be able to get up on your feet and move and walk. And so, I feel acutely aware of all of the little mercies that are life and gifts from God.
All the little mercies.
Yeah.
That's good.
Last question for you, Kurt. You have your boys, and, you fed them, you changed their diapers, you got them to their first day of school, made sure that they weren't, kidnapped or, fell out a window or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, it seems like you blink and now they're taking care of you. What was that experience like for you, and how did the boys deal with that?
My boys were great. My wife was amazing. They all rallied and took great care of me, because I really could not take care of myself for certainly 3 weeks. It was hard to even get off the sofa without help and turn over and some of those things. So that was great, just to have the family support. The experience, honestly, I probably have known this, but it was more obvious. I probably have made an idol in my life out of capacity, the ability to do things, just to keep going, to work hard, to get things done, and to just be completely stripped of any ability. Brings you face to face with how much value you maybe derive from that, and how temporal it really is, how quickly that can be taken away. And idols are ultimately anything that can be taken away from us. and things that we value, but at some point in a blink of an eye, or maybe in 30, 40 years, will cease to be. And so I think for me, certainly just recognizing that I don't want to derive as much identity from capacity as I was deriving, because that is not a solid place to derive identity.
Right. Well, Kurt, I mean, it's certainly the best of a bad situation, and certainly changed your perspective about who you are and God's mercy and grace and those people around you who love you and support you. And so it's a good thing, even though it was a painful thing.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for your prayers and support. I think I was scheduled to come on the air.
Yes, you were.
A day or two after that.
Yep.
I knew I was going to be in and out once they started me on Oxy and all of that. That's why I sent that text when I was thinking. But I sure appreciate you guys and your prayers and checking in on me during that time, John and Kathy both. So thank you.
I got to be honest, Kurt, a lot of our guests have just blown us off over the years. You fall off a roof and still communicating? I mean, that gets you A+.
High marks.
Well, that or something anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for
Blessings
telling
to you,
the
Kurt.
story, and we'll continue to pray for you, Kurt.
Great. Have a great day.
And you as well. Kurt Bjorklund, that's quite a story. Senior pastor at Orchard Hill Church. Falling off a roof and knowing the grace of Jesus.
101.5 WORD.
It's summer in Pittsburgh, but Word FM is already talking about heading back to school.
Back to school?
If you've ever considered sending your child to a Christian school, but the cost was holding you back, check out the WORD half-price tuition deals now at wordfm.com. Send your child to a school that's teaching them the same values you're teaching at home for the full year, but only pay for half. See the complete list of schools now at wordfm.com/tuitions.
Despite what the world will tell you, all of us, we living and breathing creatures of God, we were all made with a purpose. Now, you know this, if you've been to college, how pivotal those years were for you.
To establish who we turned out to be.
Yes. So I would think that someone who is a believer in Jesus Christ, you want to go to a university that points you in the direction to your divine purpose in life. Mm-hmm. And might I say, the place to go is Grove City College.
One of the issues about social media today is it tends to, put us in a place where we're always comparing ourselves to one another, right? We're always looking to be better looking, or we're looking to be smarter or wealthier or have better clothes or a better boyfriend or a better, whatever it is.
Yes.
And our purpose gets completely lost and we become purposeless. And we can fall into anxiety or depression or whatever it is. And we need strong and solid people around us and teachers who can point us in the right direction. I think that's another thing so essential about Grove City is you want to put your child in a community that's going to encourage them to develop their identity in Christ and not in all the comparison that's all around us all the time.
Summer's here. If you're planning ahead, look at Grove City College, gcc.edu, Grove City College.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
The word around town is that Pittsburgh homeowners are choosing doing it right when it comes to their roofing, siding, and remodeling projects.
That's because since 1984, Doing It Right roofing, siding, remodeling continues to set the bar through clear communication and an installation that's second to none.
Doing It Right employs only the most experienced professionals to install and oversee your project.
They'll stop at nothing to ensure your satisfaction, doing business honestly, taking no money down and no payment until the job is complete.
Doing It Right will ensure that all work is installed to the industry's highest standards. Then back it all up with their lifetime workmanship warranty.
As a prestigious multi-award-winning Owens Corning Platinum contractor, as well as a VSI certified installation contractor, you can't go wrong with Doing It Right.
Mention John and Kathy for a discount off your estimate.
Call 724-NEW-ROOF for a free project evaluation or visit roofingcontractorpittsburgh.com.
Want it done right, call doing it right.
We are everywhere. On your radio at 101.5 WORD-FM Pittsburgh, at wordfm.com, the Word FM mobile app, iHeart, TuneIn, and Odyssey.
Mostly cloudy tonight, warm and humid. A thunderstorm in spots late. Tonight's low 73. Variable cloudiness tomorrow with a couple of showers and a heavy thunderstorm. Storms could bring flooding downpours. It'll be humid with a high of 79. Cloudy and humid tomorrow night with a thunderstorm in 1 or 2 spots. Low 65. Mostly cloudy and humid Wednesday with a high of 78. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm forecaster Drew Shannon.
Does this make sense?
Does what make sense?
Miracle Whip.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The blue lid.
So it's not real mayonnaise.
It's not mayonnaise.
So what's the point?
That's why I'm asking the question, John.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any sense. I mean, is it a health thing, a calorie thing, a cost thing? What's the deal? I don't get it. If you're going to need some mayonnaise, let's use some mayonnaise. Why is it a miracle? And why is it a whip?
Okay, I don't know the answer to either of your questions, but I will tell you it's a different taste. It's a different formulation.
But it's
sweeter.
Like mayonnaise.
It's the same consistency as mayonnaise.
Same look.
It's not the same color. And it's not the same taste.
It's not a miracle. It's not a miracle. You know that? So does it make sense to you? It doesn't make sense to me.
John, it makes sense to me.
Oh, come on.
No, it
How
does.
can it make sense?
It
Miracle Whip.
This is why.
This is something like from 1956.
Yes.
Right? This is a Betty Crocker
I
thing.
admit it, and you're right about that, but let me just say this. When you have a particular sandwich, like you
here we
have
go.
something that has a particular savory element, it's offset well by the Miracle Whip, by the sweeter take on it that the Miracle Whip provides.
I'm a little cynical here.
I'm not making potato salad with it. I'm not making tuna salad with it. But just on the occasional sandwich, it does indeed make sense.
All right. We were just in time for church yesterday. Came in the back, and boom, there was an open pew. And behind me was a young man, 20-ish. In front of us was a young man, 20-ish. I quickly found myself in the valley of men's cologne. Strong sense of leather and wood, Burberry.
Manly thing.
I was overwhelmed by the wafting of strong smelling men's cologne. And I thought, I want to turn around and go, guys, what is going on here? I mean, I know that you're guys, but you don't have to announce it to everybody around you. Men's cologne, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me half the time. The women do a fine job. It smells very nice.
Yeah.
Why am I going to pollute with my scent as well? Does that make sense to you?
I feel like I like 50% of the scent.
No.
Can I get 50% of the scent?
You know, men, they spray it. Doesn't make sense.
101.5 WORD.
This week on Truth for Life, we're continuing to enjoy some of Alistair Begg's most popular messages. We'll find out how we can shine in a dark world by following Jesus' example, and we'll consider how our decision-making is impacted by God's grace and providence. Join us on Truth for Life with Alistair Begg.
Tomorrow morning at 6 on 101.5 WORD.
In the good old summertime, in the good old summertime. It may sound a little corny, but it really is the good old summertime at the Springhouse in 84. The sun is shining, the cows are out on the pasture, the sweet corn is almost ready, the Springhouse produce tables are filled with freshly picked vegetables, and we're up to our elbows in ice cream. And you know what? That all makes the Spring House a very fun place to be. Why not jump in the car right now for a country drive to 84? Come for homemade lunch or supper, or just to eat ice cream and enjoy sweet country air. Be sure to take home our famous chocolate milk and baked goods. Don't forget that. We're just 4 miles east of Washington on Route 136, and it doesn't take long to get to us. Call 228-3339 for more directions to the Spring House in 84.
I love seeing the transformation of a smile.
There's a reason patients love Dr. Megan Stock, voted Pittsburgh Trib's Best of the Best dentist in Northern Allegheny County for the second year in a row.
You don't have to do full mouth rehabilitation to really transform a patient's life. For a patient to be able to smile confidently and be happy with their own smile.
Exceptional dentistry meets compassionate care. Stock Family Dentistry, Perry Highway in Wexford, at stockfamilydentistry.com.
Are you a real estate investor looking to refinance one or more of your properties? Most lenders only work with cookie-cutter W-2 borrowers. At Cash Call Mortgage, we have loans designed specifically for investment properties. We qualify customers based on the cash flow from the investment property. Borrowers can get up to $2.5 million. That's right, $2.5 million. No tax returns or employment verification needed for our investment property loans, and absolutely no lender or broker fees. If you're a real estate investor looking to refinance a mortgage on one or more of your investment properties, give Cash Call Mortgage a try. To see if you qualify, visit cashcallmortgage.com or call now, 800-940-7998. That's 800-940-7998. 800-940-7998.
Cash Call Mortgage is a DBA of Impact Mortgage Corp. NMLS ID 128231. Not all applicants will qualify. Equal housing lender. Licensed by California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. Residential Mortgage Lending Act license number 4131083. Not licensed in all states, including New York. Call 855-657-9910 for licensing terms and restrictions, or visit cashcallmortgage.com.
It's funny the trends that we have in society, right? I don't know when this happened, but you hear this a lot. Mindfulness.
That annoys me.
I'm mindful of this.
You're raising awareness.
Anyway, I'm thinking about vacation.
I get really cynical about those terms.
Mindfulness?
That come into usage.
Well, everything has its little day in the sun, doesn't it? Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Right? So I'm thinking about vacation, and I saw a piece, How to Be Mindful on Vacation.
Oh, all right.
So here's some advice. And I think, okay, I'm going to go away for a few days. Try going on vacation without a checklist. Can you avoid ticking off tourist sites and instead enjoy the relaxed sensation of living in the moment wherever you are? Think of a vacation as a feeling within rather than a chance to bring your hurried lifestyle to another place. Experiment with a new rhythm. Make a plan to have no plans. Avoid scheduling anything for an afternoon and see how that makes you feel. Does it bring up anxiety? Do you feel like you're missing something? Can you pause, focus on your breath, and be comfortable with a bit of uncertainty and unplanned exploring? Be open to meeting new people. Don't be afraid to make eye contact, share a smile, and strike up a new conversation. If you stumble upon a park, a restaurant, or a cultural attraction that looks interesting, be willing to try out new experiences, even if they're not in the guidebook. Sit in a cafe or a park where a local would spend time. Notice how people dress, speak, or gesture differently than at home, and where the smells from nearby restaurants and bakeries are different too. When things don't go as planned, put your phone and computer away, come back to your breath, and notice how you're feeling. Mindfulness.
Okay.
Do you feel tightness in your chest or jaw? If so, come back to your breath again. During the best of times on your vacation, try not to get too attached to how you're feeling, taking care to avoid of getting caught up in cravings or more moments like this. I mean, that's all good advice.
That's not bad.
It's just awareness. It's like a situational awareness in your mindfulness. I mean, of course, when you're on vacation, right, everything's new. Your routine's different.
Right.
Everything around you is different.
I like that.
Right?
Do you have to remind yourself that you're on vacation when you're on vacation? No, I don't either.
No, 100%.
No.
Generally, when I'm on vacation, I'm like...
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like a puddle.
I'm like a total lump.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Do you like driving on vacation?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I told you this before. I had a psychology teacher in college who would take these crazy vacations where he'd pack a bag, he'd get in his car, and then he'd drive to the stop sign, and at that point, he would decide to make a left or a right. And then he would drive some more, and he would decide to get on that road or this road. He would go on these unplanned, weird vacations.
I love that.
I mean, totally unpredictable. And find himself...
Of course, I love that because it's not me. I don't think I would love it if I was doing it.
What if you were his wife?
Right, that would be really...
Right?
Probably...
Where are we going? I have no idea.
Yeah, that could be really annoying.
You'd end up like at, Italian oven.
Okay, if you do it... First of all, I love the Italian oven. If you do end up at the Italian oven, that brings me to an article that I saw today. Called The Top 5 Worst Foods That Shorten Your Life Expectancy. Okay.
Is Miracle Whip on there?
No, Miracle Whip is not on there.
Shit.
And these, I would assume, would apply to your vacation time while you're being mindful and also your non-vacation time.
Right.
This is by Outkick.com. The University of Michigan compiled a list of popular foods that could increase or decrease your life expectancy. And based on what you eat, you have minutes lost and minutes gained.
Really?
Okay. So I can tell you, I have 5 or 6 things that are on the positive side that will increase your life expectancy, and 5 or 6 things on the negative side that are going to decrease your life expectancy.
Right. Do any of those involve kale?
Kale's not mentioned on this list.
Good.
Kale is not mentioned.
Yeah, because that would decrease while it's trying to increase your life expectancy is what I believe.
Right. And your emotional health is not a part of this calculation. Okay. So do you want to guess any of the things that you think might be on this list?
What's the fair thing? The cake and
the things that are taking away days of your life expectancy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You want to know what those things are?
Yes,
is that
please.
what you're asking?
I would try to avoid those.
Okay. This is cheddar cheese.
What?
It's taking away
cheddar cheese is taking away
1.4 minutes of your life. Okay.
It's worth it.
Wait, bacon.
Oh, it's more than worth it. I could go I would trade in a week of my life for bacon.
Okay, well, there you go. You might be. No, it's only 6.4 minutes. Pizza.
Again, same thing.
Double cheeseburger.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. These are all getting greater and greater in the depth of.
So I'm lying on my deathbed with a piece of bacon hanging out of my mouth, and a burger in one hand and a slice of pizza in the other, and I'm mumbling to my wife, "Love you," and I'm going like I want.
They're going to have to rip this soft drink out of my cold, dead hand.
Taking a sip of a Coke.
Soft drinks next.
Yep.
And the worst thing that you could eat is the hot dog. 36.3 minutes of your life are lost eating a hot dog.
Yeah, well.
But on the positive side, would you like to be encouraged?
As long as it doesn't contain kale.
French fries.
What? Come on.
You only get a minute and a half.
Wait, of a positive thing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how can a French fry be positive?
I think probably because it's a potato.
But it's like...
It's 1.4 minutes. I mean, it's pretty close to
if you want to know how bad French fries are for you, let them sit in a bag for 24 hours.
Then they become something you don't want to eat.
Of course.
Avocado.
What? Okay, good. I love an avocado.
Yeah, good.
Give me some guac.
Good. So you get 2.8 minutes.
Okay, good.
Okay. Tomatoes.
Lovely.
Great. 3 point. So BLTs, you're it's kind of evening out there.
Yeah.
Banana. 13 and a half minutes.
Excellent. For a green banana.
Doesn't say. It just says banana.
Okay, yeah.
Baked salmon.
Oh, you're going to live forever.
13 and a half minutes there, too.
Holy smokes.
And to get 33.1 minutes.
What?
A PB&J.
Peanut butter and jelly? All that sugar?
A PB&J.
How can that even be? That doesn't make any sense.
I'm telling you, ask the University of Michigan.
Who did this? Smuckers.
The University of Michigan.
They probably funded this. The Smuckers
PB&J.
people.
Peanut butter is very good for you.
I love peanut butter and jelly. When's the last time you had one?
It's been a long time.
Me too.
I bet the last time... I bet it's been 6 months. But it's always on a rice cake because that makes it better.
See, now that's just like having a PB&J like on a piece of kale.
No, it's
same thing.
It's delicious.
No, rice cake. Favorite kind of jelly? If you're doing a peanut butter sandwich with jelly, what are you having?
I'm going to say, I had to think about it for a minute. Lingonberry.
What is a lingonberry?
Yeah, it's like a cranberry-ish type thing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing
raspberry.
Yep, red
that's
raspberry.
That's good too. That's what I was going to go for. How about sour cherry?
Oh, I'd be happy to do that.
Have you ever had that?
Oh, no.
It's so
Happy
good.
to try it, though.
I just got sour cherry preserves last week.
How about the disappointment when you were at a hotel and they had those little sort of
those jam rectangles,
like the grape thing?
Aren't they horrible?
The worst.
They're it's like
why bother?
It's like Jell-O.
Why even bother?
That's the point. Just give me the butter and we'll call it even.
My kids would they have like an English muffin. They have English muffin is fabulous. One of my boys would spend so much time buttering the English muffin. It was like his full-time job. Literally, 15 minutes would go by. He was putting butter into every crevice.
Yes, that's the way it should be.
The perfection of it all.
Right, I love that.
And then put some grape jelly on top of it. Do you do that? Have you done toast with butter and jelly?
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
I never do just jelly.
What? No, come on.
Never,
Really?
ever, ever do just jelly.
To me, it sort of feels like when I do the butter and the jelly, like I'm dead.
Oh my gosh. It has to be butter all the time. It
Really?
can
I'm
never be
surprised by
just
that.
jelly. No, never. No,
Because you
that's
eat pretty healthy.
Yeah, no, not in that instance. Forget it.
Okay. How about a hot dog with jelly on
That's
it?
disgusting. Coming up next.
Yeah.
The brain is not meant to be awake after midnight, study finds.
Yeah, I agree with that. But seriously, I'm at the point right now, like 11 o'clock, I'm done.
Plus, it's International Cat Day.
Oh.
Taking my cats to the vet and we can't get them to take the medicine.
In marriage, life has a way of pulling you apart. But Family Life's Weekend to Remember Marriage Getaway helps you come back together.
Hey.
Join us in Pittsburgh, September 23rd through the 25th, or in Akron, October 14th through the 16th.
Brought us a lot closer together.
Register today and save 50% through September 19th at weekendtoremember.com.
My 5-year-old nephew was waving his Vorpal sword through the air, making those sounds. Hey, Titus, what are you doing, dude? I'm saving the galaxy, duh. It's Ryan, and the reality is, I feel like our Faith and Family Mortgage team has a galaxy-saving strategy for many families right now. It's not rocket science. The cost of everything is up. Gas, food, vacations, credit card rates. For many, times are tough. But one other thing is crazy up too. The value of our homes have jumped at historical levels, and this is our Vorpal sword. The strategy many are taking is they're cashing out that newfound money in their homes to help fight this inflation, to pay off or consolidate their debt, to do some fun things around the house, and to stash them away for peace of mind. If you'd like to see your options, we are United Faith Mortgage.
United Mortgage Corp, Melville, New York. NMLS number 1330. Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities. Mortgage lender license 22672.
Hi, I'm Todd Nettleton, and this is the Voice of the Martyrs Radio. Before being transformed by the gospel, Pang studied to become a Buddhist monk in his homeland of Myanmar. But now, Pang and his wife go door to door sharing Jesus with their neighbors. However, their good news is not always welcomed. After several villagers became Christians and were baptized, 100 people armed with axes, stones, and slingshots descended on Pang's home, smashing windows, breaking doors, and destroying the family's Bible. And another time, attackers punched Pang in the face and called his wife vulgar names. Pray Pang and his wife will continue to forgive their neighbors as they reach the lost with the truth of God's Word.
I will not let my brothers and sisters suffer in silence.
Nor will I let them serve alone.
To join me in prayer for persecuted Christians,
go to vomradio.net.
Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than big box retailers. Blindster blinds are easy to install and guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop Blindster today and save big. Blindster.com.
101.5 WORD-FM Pittsburgh. On your smart speaker by saying, play the word Pittsburgh. And on your phone via the Word FM mobile app, iHeart, TuneIn, and Odyssey.
Well, there's a saying that nothing good happens after midnight. I mean, that is a saying. Mm-hmm. And you know from life experience. Mm-hmm. More often than not.
Yes, that's
is that true?
Yes.
So apparently there is a new study that says the brain is not meant to be awake after midnight. The brain gets a little bit risky after midnight.
Is that right?
Yep. A study is, say that it's explainable without looking at a person's brain. It's obviously easier to commit a crime or get away with unhealthy habits under the cover of darkness. But the risk-reward decisions, apparently, are out of whack late at night. Night has fallen upon you. The longer you're in darkness, more those risk-reward, sensors go out of whack. They're saying this is true. Study finds.
Okay, study finds. I haven't gone to bed before midnight in about 30 years.
What? I can't believe that you're still doing that.
I seriously, I have not. I bet I haven't gone to bed before midnight in 30 years.
What?
Yes.
No, there will be a day. There will be a day.
I'm going to go to bed before midnight?
When you reach a certain age and you go, it's 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10:30. Sometimes it's like bonus time. It's 9:30. I'm going to bed.
Oh my gosh.
And you feel really good about it.
I haven't done that since I was like
I'm surprised.
9.
There'll be a point in your life you wait
I'll
and
look
see.
forward to that happening.
Nothing good happens after midnight. No, please don't shake your head. Don't send us emails and say, plenty of good things have happened after midnight.
Right. Here's one good thing that might happen after midnight. We'll have to see what happens because we're taking our cats to the vet. It's International Cat Day. Both Gus and Charlotte are going to the vet for a 7 o'clock appointment, and we can't get the gabapentin into them. Now,
What's
the gabapentin is the thing that relaxes them and kind of puts them in a little bit of a stupor so that they're not crazy at the vet. But they're not taking it. They're not interested in it. And my husband's had it with the cats. And so it's going to be man versus animal. And I'm the next hour and a half of my life, you guys.
Are you there by yourself?
No, it's Eric and I together with both animals. And they're both going to be beside themselves.
It's so tense. Oh, it's so tense, isn't it?
I think.
You're going to go to dinner afterwards. No, you can't because they're going to bring the cats home.
Yeah. And plus, we're going to be in shock.
That's a heck of a way to celebrate International Cat Day. Maybe they'll give you a sticker, something like that.
I'll tell you what happens tomorrow.
Peace be with you and your cats.
The Ride Home with John and Kathy, a production of Salem Media Group.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. Chuck Schumer finally got his wish. After reaching a deal with Joe Manchin on a far smaller version of Build Back Better and calling it the Inflation Reduction Act, Kyrsten Sinema objected to its tax increases. Despite some hope that the Arizona Democrat might force economic reality on her colleagues, Sinema agreed to support it after winning some modest changes and a $5 billion pork chop for Arizona on drought relief. Schumer wants to sell this as Democrats' answer to inflation. However, a Penn Wharton budget model analysis shows that this bill will actually increase inflation slightly for the first year and will have little impact on inflation.